So let me welcome all of you to this year's It's All About not the projects, but people conference, which is organized by Alma Mater Europaea, the university, together with the European Academy and the World Academy of Art and Science. Traditionally, we have our specific stream on project management, and I'm happy that we have a full stream starting now and ending after lunch, 1:30. We have a lot of presentations from various universities, but also our PhD program students are presenting. So presentation time is 15 minutes. I will be very sharp on that. So please present 10, 12 minutes. And then maybe one or two questions can be asked and answered, and then we move on. Okay, so every speaker needs to be ready to share the slides. I'm starting with the first speaker, it's František Vrab, PhD candidate from Slovakia, and he's speaking about strategic resilience and human technology connection. František, the floor is yours. Please, your slides are already on. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to share my conference paper and this presentation. My name is František Vrab. I'm external doctoral student at Žilina University, Department of Communication. And I'm delighted to presenting the conference today along with co-partner, Associate Professor Milan Fila from College of Applied Psychology in the Czech Republic. This paper will be presenting strategic resilience and the human technology connection and analysis of the growth and survival of small and medium-sized enterprises in the Central and Eastern Europe. So let me begin with putting this research in a context. Small and medium-sized enterprises are not a marginal part of CEE economy. They account for over 90% of all business in a region. They are the backbone of job creation, local development, and economic dynamism. Between 2022 and 2024, these SME faced an almost unexpected combination of crises. The first was COVID pandemic, and the next was the geopolitical and economic shockwave of the war in Ukraine. Supply chain was fractured, demand became volatile, labor shortage emergence. These disruptions exposed deep structural vulnerabilities, but at the same time, they also make a powerful catalyst for transformation. The central question of my research is what were the key strategic and factors that contribute to the resilience for the growth of SME in CEE during 2022 and 2024. Let me briefly outline how we approach this question. Our study employs a quantitative synthesis of publicly available documents, research driving a national SME strategy, international organization reports from OECD and European Commissions, and peer academic literature publishing between 2022 and 2025. More specifically, Our methodology compromise first step. First, data collection across 12 CE economies, Albania, Bulgaria, Czechia, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Croatia. Second, thematic analysis to identify the core pillars of resilience. The third, a cross-country comparative analysis to isolate both shared strategies and unique national challenges. And the third, an integrative synthesis, entrepreneurs' behavior between public policy frameworks. Our analysis identifies three interlocking pillars in SME resilience across CE. Allow me walk through each of them. The first pillar is digital transformation. SME that proactively adopted digital tools and adapted their management practices demonstrate significantly higher resilience and growth compared to those that did not. The pandemic in particular compressed what might have been a decade of digital adaptation into a matter of months. However, in this important qualification, we also identify persistent gap into adoption of advantage technology and digital leadership skills. The shift was rapid, but it was concrete leisure to urban centralists in the firm with prior digital capabilities. The second is alternative financing. Across to diversity financing instrument proved critical for both short-term survival and long-term investment. Our study examines a range of mechanisms, credit guarantee schemes, venture capital, invoicing financing, grants, innovation vouchers, and blended public-private partnerships. To give you a concrete example, Slovakia deployed over 22 million euro in loan lines backed in the European Investment Fund from the European Investment Bank. For example, Croatia, through its HBAOR Development Bank, provided contribution of loans guaranteed and equally capital. Through our analysis, also found that the country still faces a venture capital gap or of approximately 86 million annually. Importantly, cross-country cooperation summarized the tables I will show you next. We can see, for example, that Slovenia and Croatia is a weaker performance than, for example, Poland and Estonia. So the third pillar is the human capital development. Skill development and talent retention proved to powerful implies to the benefits technology and financial support. Put simply, digital tools and financing instrument only they are full potential when people have knowledge and capability to deploy them efficiently. This pillar also explores the region's most persistent structural challenge, skills, matchmakings, and critically brain drain and immigration of skills workers from CEE economies to Western Europe countries to create a significant gap on the SME growth potential. The most effective responsive we observed involves the creation of supportive ecosystem, incubators, innovation cluster, university business collaboration, networks, combination of institutional reforms that reduce regulatory complexity and improve business environment. So this is the table, and taken together, these three findings point toward what I would call a strategic triangle of CEE, SME resilience. The dynamic interplay between capital, between digital capability, financial access, and human capital. No single pillar is sufficient, no on its own. The most resilient firm and the most effective national ecosystem, that manage to advance all of these three part of pillars simultaneously. What distinguishes our study is the competitiveness multi-country scope. Much of the existing literature focusing on individual countries or specific sector, but synthesizing evidence across 12 CE nations and investigating insight from the authoritative from the sources as OECD, European Investment Fund, and European Commission. We offer more holistic regional perspective. This perspective is, we believe, essential for policymakers seeking to design interventions that both locally sensitive and regionally coherent, particularly as a CE economic align with EU priorities such as a digital decade or Green Deal.
Please slowly come to your conclusions.
Okay, my conclusion. We can say that from 2022 to 2024 was period of the stress test for SME in Central Europe. So there are three conclusions. First is digitalization. A second is human capital development. And the third is institutional frameworks, particularly legal modernization and administration. So I would like to close by expressing I would like to say thank you to my professor and to can share my knowledge at this conference. So thank you, and I open for some questions.
Thank you, František. Are there questions? Please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. František, you did not include Germany, but also Germany has 95% of economy built with small and medium-sized enterprises. What is your hypothesis? Would that also be relevant for German SMEs, what you found out here, or do you see differences?
I explain why I don't use Germany, because I want to focus to, how to say, not to Western economies. Yes, I want to focus to, how to say, some communistic, old, how to say, rebuilded economist. So this is the reason why I don't. But I think the Germany, for us or for these countries, can be Germany as how to say, good example of something. How we can build alternative sourcing of financing, because in Slovakia there are many German companies, and I can see big difference between Slovak company and German company. Yes,
But
German
what
are
you have as
systematic.
conclusions, František, to make it short, I would say that's the same here. Maybe the sources of financial or capital is a different one because they are family owned in Germany.
Yes,
But the rest is, I think, quite similar. But Simon, you have a question. Please, a
yes.
short question, a short answer.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, František, for this presentation. Very interesting looking up in the importance of the SMEs in the Central and Eastern Europe. At the beginning, you mentioned the data collection, yeah, and throughout the presentation, you mentioned also different policies of the European Union and the Commission. I just wonder if you maybe looked up into the let's say, national frameworks of for resilience and recovery, and related structural funds that are as well supporting, let's say, activities in the SMEs in European Union, and maybe how those member states you are focusing on are actually progressing in that.
Okay. So
Short answer, František,
yes, yes,
because Simon is an expert in that field. So
yes. But I can only answer in context of Slovakia because other country I see only on the table, you know. So in Slovakia context, I can say the best for some resilience is not to grant, only grant, because when you have a grant, it's not good for the improving. You need to have some get some loan together with the grant. It's better for the motivation and for the growing these three activities. And we also very focus on digital transformation. But in Slovakia, I think the worst pillar is the SME. Alternative sourcing is the worst
okay.
one, but this too is good. That's my answer.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
František. I think there's a lot more to discuss. Thanks for your presentation. Simon, thank you for your question. And you can connect afterwards. So, next speaker, I'd like to announce Abubakar Sadiq Sani. He's obviously from Africa. It's our PhD candidate at Alma Mater European University. Sadiq, can you please share your slides so that we see your slide deck? And he will be speaking about the assessing of the influence of sustainable project management practices on project success from his perspective in Nigeria. So I see your slides. Maybe make it presentation mode. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. It's your stage, Sadiq.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Abubakar Sadiq Sani, and today the topic of my presentation, as you can see, is assessing the influence of sustainable project management practices on project success evidence from renewable energy projects in Nigeria. This research sits at the intersection of two global conversations, the first being the transitioning of energy, and second, the adaptation or adoption of sustainability in project management practices in Nigeria. Okay. To begin with, sustainability in project management, in my opinion, is no longer optional. It was established back in 2014 that modern project management must integrate environmental, social, and economic sustainability, not as an afterthought, but as a core dimension of how projects are planned and delivered. Renewable energy projects, on the other hand, are arguably one of the most essential industries to apply sustainability principles. They have a direct impact on environmental and energy transition goals. In essence, renewable energy projects directly help in creating cleaner energy, reducing environmental impacts, and promoting long-term economic development. Now, you might wonder why I decided to look into Nigeria, other than the fact that I am a citizen of Nigeria and I'm experiencing some of these situations firsthand. According to International Energy Agency, Nigeria has one of the most severe energy deficits on the African continent. Approximately 60% of Nigerians lack reliable access to electricity. which is over 120 million citizens. At the same time, Nigeria has extraordinary natural potential to take advantage of the solar radiation, the river systems, and wind corridors, which are some of the key ingredients, in my opinion, for genuine renewable energy transitions. The problem is that projects in this sector frequently fail to deliver because they usually face delays, cost overruns, and stakeholder conflicts. And sustainable project management are precisely the tools that could address those failures. So what exactly is the research trying to solve? On one side, we have a practical problem. On the other hand, we have a knowledge problem. As for the practical problem, renewable energy projects in Nigeria usually face significant implementation issues, as I mentioned earlier, such as project delays, budget overruns, discontent from key stakeholders, such as the local population and government institutions. These issues often arise due to poor project planning, weak stakeholder engagement, and inefficient resource management. As for the knowledge problem, although sustainable project management has received much attention globally, there's little empirical research analyzing its impact in Nigerian context. Most of the existing research focuses on developed economies. As a result, Nigerian policymakers and project managers lack context-specific data to help them effectively integrate sustainability practices into renewable energy project management. The main aim of this research is to scrutinize the general effects of sustainable project management practices on renewable energy project outcomes in Nigeria. This was pursued through two objectives: by assessing the effect of the individual and combined impact of the elements of sustainability and key performance indicators, and establish evidence-based recommendations to action on policies by project practitioners and policymakers. These objectives led to three questions, which are: to what extent do sustainable project management practices influence the success of renewable energy projects in Nigeria? How do resource efficiency, social responsibility, environmental protection affect cost, time, quality, and stakeholder satisfaction? And what evidence-based recommendations can influence the adoption of sustainable project management in Nigeria's renewable energy sector? Sustainable project management incorporates environmental responsibility, social equality, and economic viability into conventional project management techniques. What differentiates it from traditional project management is that it doesn't just focus on conventional triple limitations of time, cost, and quality. Modern project management places a greater emphasis on balancing these elements with sustainability concerns to produce long-term value for companies and society. Turning to the specific context, renewable energy projects in Nigeria are important for sustainability because they replace fossil fuels with cleaner energy sources, including solar, wind, hydro, and biomass. Globally, renewable energy grew by more than 9% in 2022 alone. However, realizing the environmental and social advantages of renewable energy needs good sustainable project management methods to assure project success. This study uses a quantitative research approach using a cross-sectional survey to investigate the link between sustainable project management practices and success of renewable energy projects in Nigeria. The target population comprises of professionals participating in renewable energy projects such as project managers, engineers, and sustainability officers who have first-hand experience of project execution. Primary data were gathered using standardized questionnaires and to assess sustainability project management practices and project success indicators. In addition, semi-structured interviews were performed to gain greater understanding of the obstacles and practical application of sustainability in renewable energy projects in the country. This table here shows the demographic factors in summary. The research conducted a survey of 100 experts working in the Nigerian renewable energy project. This distribution presents experience pool of the respondents equalized in the major project positions, which improves reliability of the data. This table here shows the descriptive statistics of sustainability practices and success indicators of the project. The respondents were asked to rate their organization's sustainability in adopting project practices and project success on a 5-point Likert scale. The averages indicate a positive view and embrace of sustainable practices, with environmental protection being rated the highest, implying that there's an upsurge in the focus of environmental issues. This slide here shows the reliability and average variance extracted of the latent constructs. The Cronbach alpha and composite values of the reliability are all above the threshold of 0.7, and the AVE values are all above 0.5, which are good indicators of reliability and convergent validity. This slide here shows the full path coefficients table and a custom structural equation model diagram to the right, showing the 3 latent constructs with arrows and coefficients pointing to the outcome variables. The study hypothesized that sustainable project management practices positively influence project success measures. Resource efficiency, as you can see on the table and on the diagram, strongly impacted cost control and time adherence, which aligns with prior findings emphasizing efficiency's role in managing scarce resources typical in Nigeria's renewable sector. Social responsibility significantly influenced stakeholder satisfaction and quality. Environmental protection positively affected quality and indirectly benefited stakeholder perception. So what do these results mean in context? The empirical data clearly shows that sustainable project management practices have a significant role in the project success of renewable energy projects in Nigeria. The research helps to close a major gap in the literature of research since it offers the localized, statistically validated results on the nexus between sustainability and project success in the renewable energy industry in Nigeria. As for my conclusion, these observations confirm the necessity of the systemic inclusion of the sustainability framework in the network of renewable energy projects in Nigeria to reduce the most common issues and put the results in the context of the national and global sustainability goals. Based on evidence, I offer 5 recommendations. First of which is to standardize sustainability principles. Second, to invest in training. Third, community engagement. Fourth, create environment for creative green actions. And fifth, strengthening of policies. These are my references, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your precise presentation. Sadiq, I have a question. Now, you said that there is some research on Western countries or Northern countries from your perspective, but not enough in Nigeria. Now, if you see your results, do you see any differences between the Northern world and the Southern world, so to say?
In what aspect exactly?
In your findings. So if you now would compare your findings of your statistics here with, let's say, Germany or America or these kind of countries, do you see a difference in the findings?
Not so much. The findings actually surprised me in Nigeria for the fact that I learned that people are actually willing to accept the transition. The main issue, which from the surveys and the interviews, I believe it all goes back to the government basically, which from my research, I think a lot of countries tend to experience some of those issues in their countries from the government organizations also.
But see, I'm teaching in South Africa, a bit south of you, and they have the same issues. I would confirm the results also for that country. But the problem is that the government does not really care for these kind of topics. So what about your government? And who is substituting that government, let's say, absence?
Yes, you're right. The government actually doesn't care about these approaches. In most cases, from my research, it's usually private companies and foreign investors that tend to come into the country to promote such ideas.
Okay, so it's the external, let's say, initiative.
Yes.
But is there also, like in South Africa, we see it's Ubuntu. It's a kind of community approach. People do it in absence of government initiatives. They take care and take responsibility for themselves. Do you see something like that also in Nigeria?
As far as my findings go, no. The only thing which I've noticed just being around the environment is the rapid increase in people using solar energy rather than depending on electricity, which goes back to the initial problem I mentioned earlier, stating that about 120 million people have no access to reliable energy supply. So in order to substitute that and to have ease of accessibility to electricity, people substitute that by using or by adopting the solar system.
Maybe have a look into Ubuntu and see what is that doing in countries in the southern part of Africa. And maybe there are some conclusions for your country, and you can do something about that because I found it very interesting, this Ubuntu concept, because it's totally different to our government and governance regime that we have in the northern world.
Yeah.
Because it's more top-down approach, and this Ubuntu is more bottom-up, and that's very effective in South Africa.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Time is up. I would call Nancy Noame. She's also a PhD candidate of Alma Mater European University, also a professional. She's talking about system thinking and cultural transformation, comparing VSM and Shingo model. Nancy, I see your slides. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I would like just to thank Abubakar first. And I like that the social responsibility showed impact on quality. So that this is my domain. And my presentation today is really around and looking at how we can integrate some of the work that's happening on project management with culture. And my background, like Dr. Renard said, I'm a practitioner, so I work with the Shingo model. I work with it since many years now, and I would look at the culture, but the Shingo model has been tested and has been confirmed academically also. So that's the thing I'm going to be talking to you today, trying to stick to 10 minutes. So I will share the research method, some of the literature reviews I've done, the research gap, objective results and discussion, and my conclusion. So this is a conceptual paper, no empirical data. I'm trying to narrow down my thoughts and the work that I'm going to be doing on my PhD. I'm a year 2 student, so I still have to submit my proposal, but this work falls into that. And this paper is to examine the culture through a systemic thinking lens by integrating 2 complementary traditions. So the viable system model and the Shingo model for operational excellence. So my method was initially to start looking at the literature. I chose some of the key articles that are relevant to what I'm doing. I have much more than what I'm presenting, but there's more I think that I can really tap into. So the idea was to identify relevant ideas in the existing literature, comparing the 2 models, the VSM and the Shingo model, and explaining how the conceptual connections were formed. And these are the steps I had. So my literature review focused on these 5 elements of foundational system thinking, organizational cybernetics, and the VSM, project-oriented organization, sustainability and integration, and principle-based excellence Shingo model. Recently, there have been many research papers around integrating the Shingo models with ISO standards, integrating it with the EFQ models. So that was my initial thought, is looking at that integration and see if it's valid to be really applied to the VSM and the project world. So I took some of these articles. So I'll highlight to you some of the things that were important and how that helped me frame where I'm going with this research. So the first is Arnold and Wade. So they highlight the value of system thinking and integrating diverse disciplines. I think we all know system thinking is very important for that, and revealing non-obvious connections across disciplines. Sinch in 2006, he really focused on organization and learning systems, and that helps explain how engagement and coherence arise from systemic conditions rather than isolated actions. And as a practitioner, I know that we often look at isolated actions in organizations. Meadows, he highlighted organizations as dynamic networks, emphasizing that small interventions as strategic leverage points can create lasting cultural change. And Jackson introduced the creative holism, which really looks at advocating using multiple perspectives and methods to address both the structural and behavioral dimensions of organizational change. And these are the two elements I'm looking at in my paper. Now, Beer, and this is the foundation of the VSM, which is a viable system model. He highlighted that it's important for organization to be able to maintain viability amid complexity through 5 essential functions. And those functions are at every level of the organization. They touch operations, coordination, control, audit assurance, which is one derived of the third system, intelligence and identity and policy. And all the articles I've looked at helped me really focus my research around the VSM and the Shingo model. So just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go a lot into this. I also looked at the project-oriented organizations. So 2 key articles here helped frame that, and mainly is the work that was done by Leckler and al. And Dr. Martina, she's part of that. So she had analyzed the VSM theory and integrated the project and applied to the project run by identifying 3 additional things: survivability, sense-making, and vulnerability as core organization competencies. And I used that article to continue my research. Sustainability and integration. There was an article that also looks at long-term viability and how it depends on holistic integration of excellence, ethics, resilience, and sustainability. Now, the definition of excellence also needs to be looked at when we look at these articles, because some authors have different definitions of what excellence is, and I'm focusing on operational excellence. But one important thing I found in one of the practitioners that proposed development is to have a human-centric viable model system, which looks really at the human element and how we integrate those. A last piece of literature review was on the Shingo model. You see the model here. It really looks at how systems generate behaviors that align with principles and how the culture is really shaped by these systems. And it's not just about values, it's not just about people, how we tell people what direction to follow. It's mostly about the behaviors we want to see in the organization. And several articles, recent articles, have been around those principles and have suggested that integration is possible, and it's much needed to have that behavioral integration with the structural elements. So if I want to summarize all the literature review I've done, it suggests that effective cultural transformations requires a viable organizational architecture, which is in this case is the VSM, principle-based behavioral mechanisms that embed excellence into daily work. And this is where I chose the Shingo model, integrated governance structures that stabilize and scale these behaviors. And this is where integration comes in. And I was initially thinking about the manufacturing. So I looked at the sustainability and Industry 4.0 research, which sharpened the requirements for long-term human-centric adaptability. So if I look at the gap, I didn't find structural model that explains behavior with viability. Excellence models that are principle-based look at behaviors, but not organizational design. And I didn't find so far integrated system for culture in complex context, because I looked at the POOs, and that piece is not clearly covered there in the literature and neither in the research. So my objective was to develop an integrative system thinking perspective on cultural transformation. And I had listed some of the objectives to achieve. What I've done is taking those 2 models, the VSM and the Shingo model, I mapped some of the dimensions, and I looked at the red ones that you see on the bottom, the limitations and the potential tensions. And that confirmed the initial thoughts about the need to integrate, to eliminate each model's blind spot, and to have a complementary approach for cultural transformation. I'm not going to go into the details of this table, but I had long tables that looked at the 6 systems. The first part is taken from the article of Leckler in 2022, and I complemented that with the Shingo dimensions, with description of alignment, potential tensions, and paradoxes, and we checked it against the teaching of the Shingo Institute, which confirmed that these are the things that we see and the impact we see with organizations who are winners of the Shingo model. So I'm not going to go into the details, but out of this integration, if I take the systems of the VSM, operations and coordination could be enabled by process, focus, and flow, which are some of the principles of the Shingo model. Governance and assurance could be enabled by humility and scientific thinking. which also, again, principles of the Shingo model, learning and identity anchored in purpose and value. And these are the key elements which I could take forward into my research. Now, as a conclusion and the future roadmap, so enduring change in organization, especially cultural change, requires the integration of systemic architecture and the principled behaviors. And the Shingo model is all based on the 10 principles that drive behavior. And we say that ideal behavior drives ideal results, and it has been approved in different literature and academic work around the Shingo model. And this study provides a coherent rationale for combining the hard and soft levers of culture change. And this is something I would like to explore further, continue the literature review, and have an empirical validation and testing of this, and continue the research in this direction. Thank you.
Wow, Nancy, that was very fast because you are speaking very fast.
Yeah, when I'm put under pressure on time, I also speak more fast than I usually speak.
All good, all good. So we have a bit more time for questions and answers. I'm an expert on viable system model. I worked a lot in that space. I have no clue about the Shingo model. But what I found interesting that you try to combine both, because viable system model, Stafford Beer, was a more generic, more engineering inspired kind of a machine model for organizations. And I call it like that because it never talked about culture or behavior and so on. So if you're talking about culture behaviors, I think you should look more into the social science. And I'm working with the institution theory, and there is a lot around institutional theories and institutional logics, etc., which is quite interesting maybe to touch on, let's say, a systemic thinking, but also with a soft touch of culture behavior, because they say the air we are breathing is the culture. It influences how people behave in a certain system environment. And through their behavior, they shape the system. So it's in both directions and so on. So
Yeah.
maybe that's also interesting that you look
Yeah.
a bit more into, let's say, models like dynamic capability model or institutional theory before you do your shortcut into combining Shingo and viable system model. Because I'm not sure whether those are really a good fit.
Yeah, I totally understand. I think the integration maybe is not the right word in here. It's just comparison at this stage. But I think it's required really to integrate some of the cultural elements into the models that we're using in organizations. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll search more.
Are there any other questions to Nancy? Because we have still time.
Then I'll give the space for someone else.
No, Nancy. Let me ask another question.
Yeah.
In the end, what do you want to achieve? What do you
I wanted
aspire with all your research? What is the outcome more?
for this paper specifically, I wanted to really see if I could
No, I
really
mean
look
more
at
in general, not
in general. In general, I think I'll be looking at more specific elements, narrowing it down. So I started narrowing my research into the area of looking at some of the cultural traits that could be impacting the work of or the signals that are that the project team and the operations team look at when they identify projects, and
What
that's
for?
the
Nancy, what for? My question is more in the direction, what is the benefit, ultimate benefit of all that?
For this one, overall is really to look at what are the cultural traits that are missing in organization and that need really to be strengthened to be able to remove tensions between projects and operations team when they work together.
Okay. So it's more harmony in the organization or better collaboration for better results in projects?
yes, better collaboration. And I'm starting to look at sense making maybe, and how the different perspectives of between operations team and projects team could be maybe not helping organization get the right projects in time, and not in terms of delivery, but in terms of identifying which projects are needed for the organization. But this is very specific for very big organizations where there are big focus on operation, which requires stability, but also projects which are required for innovation, for change, and these kind of things. So I'm looking at this area, the intersection between collaboration, sense making, issue framing in between these two entities in the organization.
But I see one of your challenges is you're more talking about the means for achieving that, let's say, more successful collaboration or more effectiveness and so on. And maybe start there, what for you are doing all that, and then trace it back. Because then you may identify a very different approach or different model or different problem that you want to solve. So you're still very fuzzy in what you want to achieve, right?
And this one was really looking at the Shingo model and see if I could really, if the principles are helping or could help these 5 systems or 5 plus one system. So it's really looking at the principles. Do they apply? Do they make sense in this context, which is a project context? That's why the POO article helped me a little bit look at the VSM from a project perspective.
Okay. But we may continue the discussion also next week, okay?
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you, Nancy.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I would call Domagoj Mihaljević from Croatia to speak about the human AI synergy, a new paradigm for managing sustainable energy projects. Domagoj is also a PhD student at Alma Mater European University. Domagoj, now I see that you're pulling up your slides. Maybe do it in presentation mode, and then we are perfect in time. You have your 15 minutes. Can you do it in presentation? Yep, now I see it.
Good morning, everyone.
Yep.
My name is Domagoj Mihaljević. I'm the PhD candidate from Alma Mater European University. As Professor Reinhardt said, the subject of my presentation is human AI synergy, a new paradigm for managing sustainable energy projects. I'm very glad that my dear colleague Nancy says one nice word, which is called human-centered. So I think that you will find much more here, and that this is in line what has been previously shared with us. So over here, I would like to present my agenda through this presentation. So I will lead you first as a through the first point as a research objective and the key question that I take. Then we have the methodology as a second point. The third point will be the key findings that I found, with focus on performance, impact, and 4 key, as I call it, framework components. Then we have the proposed framework. After that, we go to through the implementation pathways. Then I will show you the measuring success. I call it a balanced scorecard. Then we will go to the implementation challenges and the strategies, and I will conclude this presentation with conclusion and the future research directions. At the end, I stay open for your questions you might have, and I will try to answer as much as I can. As you can see, for the first point of agenda is research objective and the key question. So I put the challenge that the renewable energy sector, particularly speaking for the wind and the solar, faces growing project complexity that traditional management can't handle. There is an opportunity of that AI offers solution, mainly speaking to the predictive maintenance and the risk assessment, but risk eroding human judgment and expertise. The goal for this paper and this job is to find a balance where AI augments human capabilities without replacing human agency. So there is, through the lots of the discussion in the paper, You all are familiar that there is the rising of the question whether will AI replace us. No, AI will not replace us. It will replace us, the human who will use AI in a proper way. I put the central research question, how can human-centered AI system be designed to manage those complex electric production projects? As a methodology that I use here, initially was the literature analyze. I made a review of approximately 87 academic and industry publication. I try to focus on the last published in the last 5 years. So from 2020 to 2025. Then I approached to the deep case studies using my professional contacts in the 3 major European energy companies which implemented AI in the wind and the solar, particularly speaking, projects. And my primary data was 24 semi-structured interviews, mainly focused on the project managers, AI specialists, and executives. I made survey of 142 project team members with 2 focus group for validation. And as a result of all this work, some of the main key findings, performance impact, you can see on this slide. So human-centered AI collaboration delivers significant measurable improvement across all 3 case study companies. So on the left side, you can see the performance metric with the metric tasks. And on the right side, you can see the average improvement. As you can see, the project delivery timeline, it was 22% of reduction. Then we have the budget variance, which is 15% of reduction. Then we have resource utilization, 80% increased due to utilization. The last 2 is the risk identification rate, which is 36% increase. And then we have, as a last but not least, employee satisfaction, 31% of increase. The mentioned before 4 key framework component. You can see these 4 points. The first one is for successful implementation refers only 4 recommended components. First one is collaborative intelligence model. So we are talking here about clear allocation of the tasks. AI handle data intensive analysis, while human manage the strategy, ethics, and relationship. Then we have the explainable AI interfaces. So we are talking here about that AI systems must be transparent. Users need to understand the why behind the recommendation to build the trust. The third point is continuously feedback mechanism. Humans actively teach the AI by explaining the overrides, creating a continuously learning loop that improve the system over time. And then the last, we have the adaptive governance structure, which says that decision authority is tiered and involves like AI acts autonomously for some tasks, recommends for others, and is excluded from the strategy ethical decisions. The proposed framework that I used here, you can see through this visual representation of the 4 components working and aligned together. First component, it's called strategical alignment. So we alignment AI with organization goals and, of course, human skills. Then we have the technical infrastructure, which is mainly related to the data governance, previously explained, expandable AI and integration. Then we have the human capability development, which means that we need to training teams to collaborate with AI. And then the last, we have the governance and ethics. So setting the rules for decision, authority, and responsibility use. You can see on this slide a roadmap for organization at different levels of AI maturity. So the first path, I call it foundation building. So it is for the beginner stage. This path shows that established data of infrastructures need to be made. Then we have the second point, use of AI in low risk, high volume process. And then we need to build basic AI, so-called literacy. Then there is a second path, which I call it capability expansion. It's something between a beginner and advanced model path, so I call it intermediate. There is the 3 point as well beyond that. The first one is expand, which says that expand AI needs to be more project domains. Then we have develop more sophisticated predicted models. And then we need to build trust through the advanced interfaces. The last path, called transformative integration, it is advanced path. It reimagined the workflow to leverage human AI strengths. Then this path create new hybrid project management roles. And the last point dedicated to the path 3 is to develop mature governments for responsible innovation. The four multidimensional approach. The first one is efficiency. So when we set the efficiency, we are talking about the project delivery time, the budget variance, the resource utilization. Then we have the adaptability. We are talking here about response to change, change ourselves and change the company culture itself. Forecast accuracy and scenario robustness. Then we have the third dimensional approach, which is called human experience. We are talking here about team satisfaction, skill development, and the role augmentation. The last but not least, and the last important is the ethical and the governance dimensional approach, which is dedicated to the decision transparency, bias detection, and regularity compliance. Implementation and the challenges and the strategies for all these things is even with the success, challenges persist, of course. There is the effective strategies that includes the four challenge, and in a correspondence with this challenge, there is the strategy. Let's talk about skill gaps. My investigation
5
shows that
minutes left, Domagoj. 5 minutes left.
sorry.
5 minutes.
Yeah, I have it. I have it on my mind. So there is the skill gaps. 76% felt under-trained. There is the strategy how to work with AI, not just how to use it. There is the trust barriers, over-reliance versus underutilization. So team involvement in design, transparent communication. There is a data quality and integration, dedicated data, governments team standardize the protocols. And again, there is a ethical and regulation concern. So there should be the clear ethical guidelines, diverse stakeholder involvement, regular ethical reviews. The great values that come from this synergy that I mentioned is the human-centered approach is essential to harness. AI is analytical power while retaining the judgment, ethics, and experience of the project managers. There is the second point, the proposed framework that I show you and implementation pathways provide a practical guide for energy companies, but it can be reflected into to another ones. So to navigate this transformation. And there is a new paradigm leads to the more efficient, adaptable, and the human positive project outcomes in the renewable energy sector. There is the future direction that should be considered. There is the way to consider longitudinal studies. So how does human AI collaboration evolve over time? There is the cross-technology comparison, comparing application in wind, solar, hydro, etc. The third point is the impact of emerging tech. How will generative AI and autonomous system affect human agency? And the fourth point is ethical framework, developing deep models for accountability and transparency in high-stake decision. If you will have time, please use during the question and answer, you can use your mobile phones to scan my full paper. I will be glad if you can read it when you will have time and come back to me a bit more. So on the left side, I put the valid QR code, so please use it. So this is from me all. I stay at your disposal for questions and I will try to answer something.
Thank you very much. Also for the nice visuals. I like the visuals very much. But if you look at the last visual here, where's the human? So my question to you, will there be a place for humans? Because here is the last slide with a human, and I show you what I mean. Because there's a nice book, I recommend that book for a good colleague, Peter Taylor. He published that book early this year. It's called The Invisible Project Manager. Will that be our future?
As I said at the beginning, I stay I would say that I try to show through my work that we should not be afraid of the tools, of the AIs, of everything what is coming with the new technology. Since first, we as a people, we are not programmed to be so fast, and the machines are not programmed to be cognitive as we are as the human. So the whole idea in the human-centered approach is to be collaborative with the AI and the new technology. That means that we will not be replaced, and we should not be afraid of the new technology. We will not be replaced of the AI, but we will be replaced of the project managers live, like us, you and me, who knows how to use AI. So this will be the visible project management. No, answer is people will be visible.
Absolutely. And I think I will share also a blog post that I posted recently about the competences that we need then in the future, because there's a big change in the competence we need. And it's quite interesting discussion. So congratulations to your topic, because I think it's very timely. Because I see in practice many people are really afraid, and they should not, and they should not even fight against AI usage, but they need to learn what kind of transition is going on here. Very interesting. Thank you, Domagoj. And
You're welcome.
I now ask Martina Svoboda. She's the next. Competence for managing sustainable related tensions in projects. Martina, are you here? Okay.
Yes, I'm right here. So, started my presentation. So, hi, my name is Martina Svoboda. I'm also a PhD student at Alma Mater, and my research focuses on sustainable project management. And today I will be presenting my research on the competencies of project managers in resolving sustainability-related tensions in projects. So that's our agenda. From a few basics, we went to research purposes, objectives, methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion. Nothing too special. So, yeah, sustainability has become one of the most important areas of focus in business today, and it's understood as a striking, it is understood as striking a balance between three fundamental dimensions: social equity, environmental protection, and economic well-being. And with a growing movement encouraging organizations to broaden their obligations beyond financial goals to include sustainability outcomes for all parties, the companies are increasingly embedding sustainability efforts in their corporate vision. And the challenges that project managers face when addressing sustainability objectives reveal that tensions related to sustainability, such as scheduling targets, organizational barriers, limited authority, that they can only be effectively managed when justified by an economic rationale at the moment. And when undertaking a project, it is extremely challenging to establish a set of objectives that fulfill the broad concept of sustainability, encompassing environmental, social, and economic dimensions simultaneously. And within this framework, sustainability requires project managers to address these multiple beneficial yet often conflicting economic, environmental, and social goals simultaneously at organizational and societal levels. And this is a persistent contradiction. And when viewed through the lens of paradox theory, conflicting demands cannot be resolved by just making final decisions, just trade-off decisions, but they must be ongoing, managed. And consequently, project managers must foster dynamic and self-aware interpersonal competencies to enable an effective interaction with these persistent tensions and contradictions. And to understand which competencies are effective, it is first necessary to characterize the tensions that are intended to address. And the most frequently cited tension is the misalignment of project timelines, which are inherently limited with sustainability objectives, which are open-ended and overall intergenerational. And Sabini et al. Found out that sustainability objectives are only addressed when anchored to an economic business case, when the tension arises. That's most the case. And multiple sources also emphasize that sustainability goals are difficult to standardize. So this makes things more challenging for project managers who are accustomed to conventional control mechanisms. Yeah, and I'm talking about competencies, but I didn't define it yet for you. Competencies are defined as a combination of interrelated components, including knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And I also divided it up into hard and soft competencies. And hard competencies pertain to technical expertise that can be measured with tools. And in contrast to hard competencies, soft competencies involve both interpersonal capabilities. They encompass the abilities that allows employees to integrate into their work environment. It also it's connected to individual traits, to personality. It also covers emotional competences and behavioral traits that are necessary for teamwork. So that's important to know for the next step. So I also already talked about the paradox lens, and paradox theory has emerged as a meta framework for this research, designing to address ongoing tensions within complex dynamic systems. And such tensions require an evolving, comprehensive strategy, with the tensions re-emerging and potentially escalating over the time. And yeah, sustainability involves achieving the short and the long-term goals without compromising future achievements. And adopting a paradoxical perspective means engaging with competing forces simultaneously and continuously. And it asks, how can we support A and B at the same time? A paradoxical perspective on corporate sustainability embraces interconnected yet contradictory economic, environmental, and social issues in order to enhance business contributions to sustainable development. So paradox theory functions as a conceptual framework that helps to identify the competences needed by project managers to solve these sustainability-related tensions in projects. Let's come to the research purpose and the objectives. And the current research highlights a significant gap in our understanding of the competencies necessary for project managers to address the sustainability-related tensions. It remains unclear which competencies are essential for managing these tensions. And consequently, this systematic literature review focused on the micro level at the project manager, and the aim is to identify project manager competencies that have already been shown or proven to be important in this context. And this research addresses the research question, which competencies have proven to be relevant in balancing sustainability-related tensions. And the objective is to develop a competency-based conceptual model, identifying the competencies that enable the project managers to navigate such tensions. So to come to the methodology, as I already mentioned, it's a structured literature review. And the literature search was conducted. I extracted, of course, the sources. I categorized them inductively into main groups, the soft competencies and the hard competencies. This is what was the first step. And the subcodes you can see also in table 1 on the right, were coded inductively, when coding the hard and soft competencies. So
5 minutes left, Martina.
Oh, okay. So, good. Then I screened Scopus and the 4 most important project management journals. Here I had a relatively long search string. Here's all my inclusion criteria. And at the end, I got 9 articles that were fewer articles as I planned, but because of the available data and the exclusion criteria, there was not more to get. And the 9 studies reveal a consistent pattern that the relational and interpersonal competences were more efficient. Soft competencies like communication and stakeholder management, system thinking, reflective action, and also one hard competency, knowledge of sustainability was an important one. Here you can see the results from most important to least important. Given the time, I have to move on. The following table and the following slides show which competences have been identified in different sources and which tensions each one is designed to address. So, for example, here we have tension short-term versus long-term objective, and it's tackled best by reflective action, ethical commitment, and social responsibility, pathfinding, and knowledge about sustainability. So, and like this, I've went through all the mentioned tensions in the journals. Organizational barriers, stakeholder complexity was a tension here, economic versus environmental goals. Here, lack of control of knowledge. This was also tension, complexity and wickedness. So, and also an important point was it's not a competency, but it's a driver, an important driver. It was intrinsic motivation that should act as a baseline. And yeah, the research showed that if there's no intrinsic motivation, they won't apply, project managers won't apply any competencies. So it's an important driver. So, and a clear pattern I already mentioned showed up. The relational and interpersonal competencies are more effective in resolving the tensions than the technical or analytical competencies alone. Yeah. So Abu-Wada and Tolja Nikolic, they also proved it quantitatively, and yeah. So here on the right, you see the conceptual model. Yeah, and there was also a discrepancy that showed up. Sustainability-specific competencies you would think of, such maybe as ethical commitment, are totally undervalued by the practitioners. So, yeah, this was very impressive. Yeah, and all the studies agree on the importance of interpersonal competencies. So this research...
Try to wrap it up, please, Martina.
Yeah. Introduces a conceptual framework that defines the competencies and the abilities. You can see it on the right. In practice, this requires competency models and professional development to be revised. And the limitations of these studies were due to the small number of the studies that could be included in the systematic review. And yeah, further research should therefore look deeper in the project manager competencies that are required to solve the sustainability-related tensions, and in particular, look at the effectiveness of these competencies. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bettina. I think there's more to discuss. Also, the intrinsic motivation that you mentioned in the middle of the circle could be an interesting point to look at. And I see also a reference to Nancy with the systemic thinking. And so maybe you too also discuss what does that mean in that area. So quite interesting to see the connections between the presentations. Thank you, Martina. Time is up. Now we have Oliver Meckel. I think I saw him.
Yes.
Olli, if you can share your presentation.
I can.
Olli is also a PhD candidate at Alma Mater European University and is a practitioner. And he's talking about the importance of entrepreneurial characteristic of project managers for project success. Olli, the floor is yours.
Thank you. You can hear me, all right? It should be. So thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me the chance to showcase a glimpse about the importance of entrepreneurial traits and characters of project managers, especially in industry, large-scale projects. As I said, I'm a PhD student, and the domain is about Generation Z, the characters and traits of them, compared to the current generation, and with respect to project managers and the success in project management, especially in industry projects. So today I would like to showcase a glimpse of current project management characters and traits and what is needed on their side. So a little bit from the structure, a little bit about the motivation, the research methodology used. I will talk about entrepreneurial traits, a list of entrepreneurial traits for project managers, which has been compiled And then about the pairwise comparison I did with 12 large-scale project managers and how they feel that entrepreneurial traits they have are recognized as a success factor on projects. Talking a little about the results and the small outlook. So as I said, the question is which entrepreneurial traits and characteristics of project managers influence project success in these large-scale industry projects. And as a motivated, we all face or see that Generation Z has different traits and characteristics. And if we combine this with project management and project success, the question is how unique are the characteristics they bring and what is the difference they have. And if there's a difference, there may be a fear in the future that projects are not successful or maybe have to be driven differently. Maybe we need also a change in the education path and career path for project managers. And so there is a need for understanding also the current way we are doing project. And I listened to Domagoy's presentation. Yes, of course, the Generation Z is tech savvy. And also AI plays a crucial role in that. But today we would like to focus first on project managers. They are successful driving several 100 million projects in the industry scope and their entrepreneurial characteristics and what they feel are important to steer them successful. This is the first topic. As I said, comprehensive literature review just to compile the entrepreneurial traits of project managers for project success, and then later on doing 12 expert interviews and driving a pairwise comparison of the entrepreneurial traits and asking each of them which is more important. Is A more important than B or B more important than C, and then come up with a clear ranking per person and a clear ranking for the interviewee group. Based on the literature review, I compiled 23 entrepreneurial traits of project managers for these large-scale industry projects. And yes, you can read it, but it's confidence, it's perseverance, it's let's say optimism, positive response to challenges, and one of them is also egotism. So this is some list of entrepreneurial traits which are, let's say, in the behavior of project managers and how they behave and feel and how they trade. Taking these based on the literature, we can also group them to project success in large-scale industry projects or in large-scale projects. So based on literature, some of them, 8, are connected to a very high importance to have them and to act in this way to be successful at the end. So it's perseverance, it's positive response to challenges. So for this large-scale project, you have to be positive response to challenges because there are changes. Ability to learn from mistakes, toleration for ambiguity, so how to feel comfortable with uncertainties, a clear commitment, and all of these are more or less in the very high importance section. And to go on the lower side on the list, it's still egotism if the project manager behaves and has a trait that he is really self-centeredness, and this is marked as low. This is the low. This is actually it's obvious and trivial, but it's also listed there. And then there's a clear ranking going from very high to high and moderate, and then especially low, to group them a little bit based on the literature. Taking these into account, I was able to find 12 persons, project directors, or maybe with a longer tenure in this industry project. You see the tenure on the left side, right side, sorry. And also the industry is named. So based on the tenure, you can see that they have career passes, driving B-class project, but they are still more than 10 years in this industry driving project management. So we also see that they, based on the tenure, they are not Generation Z. they are more or less millennials, and maybe some of them could also be in the boomer section, but I didn't group them in generations. I just looked for people with long-lasting career paths in project management and also connected to large-scale industry projects. I was able to find 12 and doing this pairwise comparison. And what you see here is the ranking. Currently, I didn't name these traits. And what you see, there are still not an aligned view between these 12. We see outliers. We see also these quartiles within the mean values. But there is a trend. Trend on the left, the top one is really the most mentioned top one entrepreneurial trait. And also the right one is the most mentioned or not recognized as the most important one. But in the middle, you can also see that there are outliers and also huge changes that one is named the top one, but from the other one, more or less the lowest one in their personal ranking. Taking these and just showing the mean values, we see that positive response to challenges and the ability to face them is definitely top ranked by this pairwise comparison of this group of 12 highly skilled project managers. Then we have honesty, responsibility, ability to learn, perseverance, courage, and we can go down. And also here you see that egotism based on the pairwise comparison is the lowest one. Grouping them above the level of 66, these entrepreneurial traits won more than 2/3 of these pairwise comparisons. So at the end, we can group them and say these are very high important, or maybe with highest important. And also below 33, these entrepreneurial traits lost more than 2/3 of these pairwise comparisons. So we can group them in very high important, high and highest important, moderate, and also lowest importance, the same as we did it in literature review. Coming up with them, we can also do a comparison of literature and then these pairwise comparison of this group of 12 highly skilled project managers. And what we can see here is that 4 of them we are on the right side is all agreed between literature and these pairwise components are very high valued traits. We see also minor deviations, and now going to the lower part of the list or the bottom part of the list, some of them are definitely agreed as low valued traits. In the middle sections, we have deviations. We have also discrepancies. If we talk about maturity, this is seen from very high importance in the literature. But in this group of 12 highly skilled project managers in industry projects, this is only seen as a moderate, let's say, importance to their behavior for project success. What was important for me that the top ones and the lowest ones are definitely mentioned as of relevance for steering project with project success in the industry project sections. So coming to the conclusion, some of them with the literature and pairwise voting are definitely agreed and disagreed. So there is an agreement and disagreement seeing this view. What we can find that positive response to challenges, honesty, integrity, responsibility, ability to learn are definitely agreed. Some other things like vision and internal locus of control, we see these discrepancies. And that's it. Going forward, taking these differences, especially compared to the characteristics and traits of Gen Z and the project management career path they have in the future, we have to take into account what current project managers see as a successful trait. So future research should be the connection to Generation Z, their career paths, and also maybe further on specifically on how to educate and taken into account how this future career process should look like and what has to be trained and not trained. Thank you. I believe I was in time.
Very, very interesting. Now, I ask you, do you expect a mismatch of this ranking that you now have from your experience, project directors, to Gen Z traits that you know of or have also experienced in your house or in your environment? Do you see a fit or a misfit?
I expect differences. Let's say that way. So I don't want to talk about misfit because this I see as a really not alignment. So some of them are definitely not in the same ranking or not in the same, let's say, priority or maybe behavior of this upcoming project management group. And that's why we have to take it into account. In addition, and that was an interesting comment, as I said, from Domagoj in the discussion you had with the questions, we also see that the projects, how we do projects with this AI support and also may change and will change. So different behaviors and traits are also useful. So it is not a negative comparison or positive or negative black and white comparison. It is more or less also that the future scenario will change. So, and this is more or less a view in the mirror. And I also see differences in behavior, trait, and characteristics, but I will also expect some difference how we perform and do projects in the future.
Yes, and I think I would summarize it in an alignment that you have to take what are the requirements from the project's perspective, what are the traits and the opportunities that Gen Z brings to the table. And also you mentioned the trainings and development path and career path and so on, how to merge all that into the right direction. That's what you're looking for.
Yep.
I think that's very good. But as I mentioned, and I posted the link here also, I looked into the competences, and that's still a lot to do because I think the competences for project managers will significantly change. We will also not call them project managers anymore in the future. That's an ongoing debate. Not sure what they will be called. But when I looked into your traits, by the way, I found honesty at number 2 and so on. I had to remember on the projectors debate of Daniel Defoe in 1697, and he also put honesty at number 2.
So, in addition to it, I had a talk with NVIDIA because they had behaved totally different than my companies is working, and they call them pilots.
Pilots, okay, yeah, interesting. Co-pilot. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I think there's a lot more. Now, the next presentation will not happen because our dear student Ruzbek is from Iran, and what I know, I yesterday spoke to an Iranian person. They cut off all the internet connections, so we will not have his presentation, unfortunately. So we use that opportunity to have a break. And we will continue at 11:45 with Mirjana. Okay, Mirjana, you can prepare yourself.
Yes. Thank you. I'm
But
here.
let's have a break until 11:45, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Short break, 15-minute project management stream here at the It's All About People conference of Alma Mater Europaea University, together with the European Academy and the World Academy of Art and Science. Now we have had already a number of presentations. Now the next one will be about the comparison of challenges that we see in Blitz projects in public and private sector. And the presenter will be Mirjana Miric-Rovatic. She's also a PhD candidate of Alma Mater Europaea University. And I would say we are curious to know about your Blitz projects. Mirjana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, colleagues. And Hello to everyone. Today I would like to present you one part of my research as a part of my dissertation because I'm interested in implementation of BLITZ project in private sector, but as contributor to strategic goal of companies. So this research is comparison of challenges in implementation BLITZ project in public versus private sector. As we already know that BLITZ projects are defined as a major project and they are most exposed by the time pressure, but they are also response to reality that affected community. We are all aware about COVID-19 pandemic and then BLITZ project, let's say, save lives. So they are facing extreme schedule comparison due to different factors such as changing in markets and different emergencies. So as already said, this research compares challenges because it's completely different BLITZ project in private versus public sector. So as in public sector, BLITZ project was a response to crisis, emergency hospitals, and in private sector they are driven by innovation like vaccine development. So I was analyzing a difference in a level of organizational structure on resource allocation, stakeholder engagement, and environment. So why BLITZ project matter? Because organization must deliver project as high speed during crisis, but also in this uncertain environment that we are facing in everyday business. So from sector highlight, I was comparing from public sector emergency hospital that was built during the pandemic and from private sector vaccine development in pharmaceutical industry. So urgency was world increases demand for speed of that kind of project and also that compressed timeline drive the need for new project framework. So aim of this research was systematically compare unique challenges and difference in implementation BLITZ project across public and private sector. And the research question is what are the unique challenges that is faced in that implementation. Difference was clarified through the context, management approach, research challenges, and also risk that are there. Why is that all matter? Because we need to have a practical application and also academic understanding of implementation of that kind of concept in these high pressure environments. So method was qualitative multi-stage research, extensive literature review of BLITZ project management. There are a few, through the literature review, I saw just a few research that are focusing on BLITZ project. Second part of methodology was deep dive analysis of two case studies, so public and private sector case study, and focus group interviews with a key stakeholder that was project manager from different sectors. So results, key difference. We can see in this quite busy slide, but that's the point of this differentiation. So in public sector BLITZ project was driven by urgent needs and policy directives. They had centralized hierarchical decision making, crisis teams, centralized resource allocation, also mobilization and high public interest. And they operate under different flexibility, but often in a chaotic environment and uncertain. So we can just see that key challenges in public sector was bureaucratic delay, research, and operational. From the other side, we have private sector that was development of COVID vaccine that was driven by a strategic goal, not only by the urgent need, also driven by innovation and market responsiveness, because we have a different companies in developing vaccine. In private sector was agile management, empowered leaders, and rapid decision making, cross-functional teams with matrix structures, at-risk investment, great engagement with partners, investor, and global markets. And we can see the key challenges in private sector was different, like supply chain, innovation pressure, but also fast compliance. So we can see from this research that key challenges area was first of all in regulation. So in public sector with political and public accountability, then in private also comply with different regulatory bodies, but no safety or quality shortcut. Second challenge area is resource allocation. In public, central allocation, donation, logistical friction, etc. And in private, at-risk investment and supply. Team structure was one of the key challenges. In public, that was crisis team with variable trust, but in private, that was cross-functional team empowered with managers. And when we are looking speed versus quality, in public also focus was on function, and in private sector on risk, but with mandatory quality. So when we are looking at key implementation difference, it's also up in organizational structure, from top-down public structure to agile private structure, then from resource allocation, from donation to large financial outlay in private sector, and also stakeholder engagement and operating environment was completely different. So when I look at all that results, you can see one SWOT analysis about Blitz project. Strengths of Blitz project is fast execution. They are driving innovation culture. They are speeding up teamwork, and they have immediate impact. Opportunities in implementing Blitz project is also as a rapid market response, skill development, as we already heard today, building capabilities of project management, and also collaboration. From other side, we have also weakness in Blitz project implementation that was mainly in risk of burnout of teams. There are limited scope, so not all projects are, let's say, candidate for Blitz. Also quality challenges and coordination. The risks of implementing Blitz project is also resource stakeholder and market shifts at the same time. So when we are seeing comparative insight, we can see that public sector Blitz projects are shaped by crisis, but by top-down mandates and mobilization. On the other hand, private sector emphasis strategic goal, innovation, market responsiveness, agile management, and rapid decision making. So tailored project management framework are key because public sector can benefit from agile practice, and while private sector can learn from crisis coordination and resource mobilization. But in all these two case study, there is no universal strategy, and action must fit organizational structure, decision culture, but also external stakeholder and environment. So public and private sector are fundamentally different in their core mission, in structure, and also external pressure that they face. And understanding this difference can inform the design of better crisis and innovation blitz framework. The result also highlights that there is no one-size-fits-all approach, so strategies must be tailored to organizational structure, decision-making, and external constraints. So key takeaways and future direction from this research is that blitz projects are vital for rapid innovation and crisis response across both sectors. Success depends on leadership, on cross-functional teams, on proactive risk management, stakeholder engagement, and balancing speed with quality. Strategic value is also one of the imperative of Blitz project as organization seeks resilience and leadership, and capability for Blitz project is becoming a core asset. So future solution call for framework that integrate adaptive and collaborative practice within and across these two sectors. A conclusion, the future of Blitz project in both public and private sector is increasingly and significant because organizations strive for faster, for more agile response, not only to crisis, but also to competitors and innovative demands. Key factors driving this trend include accelerating market expectation, advance in technology, we also mentioned today AI, need for organizational flexibility, and also a lesson learned from recent emergency. So success in future Blitz project will depend on leadership, on teamwork, on risk management, robust stakeholder engagement, and ability to balance between speed, quality, and from the other hand, sustainability. So as both sectors continue to face complex challenges, the capacity to execute Blitz project is rapidly and also effectively becoming a competitive and strategic assets. So this is my reference, and this is part of my investigation of implementing Blitz project in private sector.
Thank you very much, Mirjana. Are there questions from the audience? In absence of any questions right now, my question is, I did not find the humans in there. You said there's no universal strategy of dealing with Blitz projects, but is it then not so that the individual, being project manager, with his or her intuition or capability, is saving the project? Let's call it like that.
Yes, there is individual, but in the teamwork part as a project management, and also building capabilities of the whole team and leadership together, because that's the only way that Blitz project can be executed.
Yeah, but that's not what I mean. I mean, you may look deeper into the leadership aspect of Blitz projects, because maybe the leader's attitude and competence in dealing with these kind of difficult or challenging projects may be the key for the success of Blitz projects, because you were just looking into frameworks and policies and standards and so on. But I believe this is not the answer to your problem. Maybe it's the individual leader that is the answer. And sure, yeah, he builds on collaboration and everything, but I'm missing a bit the individual contribution
it's a good point
to that. Maybe you check that. Yeah?
Thank you.
Other questions? Otherwise, thank you, and we will discuss it also next week in our workshop. Looking forward to that. And now I ask Amar, are you here? Can you share your slide deck?
Yes, yes. Just a minute, please.
Okay, Amar Gazas is our PhD student at Alma Mater European University. He prepared 2 presentations, but he decided to merge it into one. He's presenting now impact of misaligned maturity models on PMO assessment, accuracy, and outcomes.
Can you see my presentation? Yes.
Yes, we see it.
Okay.
And please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Amar Gazaz. I would like to thank Alma Mater, Dr. Mladen and Dr. Reinhard for this opportunity to present my topic at the conference. I am from Saudi Arabia and I am the head of PMO at Citco Holding. So since I like PMOs and anything about PMOs, and I did maturity assessment for my organization 2 years ago. So I like this topic about PMOs and maturity assessment. In Saudi Arabia, we have a Vision 2030 was announced earlier by our Crown Prince. And the purpose of the vision is to diversify the economy and income of Saudi Arabia. Since we depend only on oil, so there is a risk, That's why now we want to diversify the economy by focusing on more, sectors like, hospitality, tourism, entertainment, and sports. As you can see in the pictures, there is many mega projects around the kingdom, in Neom, in Qiddiya, in Riyadh as well. Saudi Arabia in next year is hosting the Asian Cup, Football Asian Cup 2027. In 2034, we are hosting the World Cup as well. Also, we are hosting another, we are also hosting a lot of international events to improve the economy of Saudi Arabia. So to understand the overall picture, from the vision, it comes a lot of initiatives and mega projects as well. So to achieve the vision, you need, to deliver projects. So to do that, you need PMOs, Project Management Office, to oversee and deliver the projects. And not just PMO, you need full, mature, and capable, strong PMOs to deliver this kind of projects. So how to measure the maturity of the PMOs? We need something called the maturity models. In the next slide, I'll be talking about the maturity models. So we can categorize the models based on 2 types, project-specific maturity models. We have examples in the market in the literature review as well, like CMM, Kerzner PMMM, OPM3, P3M3, and IPM Delta. The other type of maturity models is PMO-specific maturity models. We have models like Crawford's PMO maturity model, PMO maturity cube, Gartner, Forrester PMO maturity models, and lately the PMO maturity in the impact model from AI PMO. So as a PMO practitioner and expert, which model should I select to assess my PMO practically in practice? So from literature review, they are suggesting to go with the model from PMO-MI model because there's a research from Dr. Peter Cole. He's suggesting that he's recommending the model from AI PMO because this model covers 31 characteristics of successful PMOs. And there is also a recent study by Alma Mater in the same topic as well. They're suggesting also to go with the PMO-MI maturity model because it provides a solid description of the impact of PMOs. But in reality, it's a different story. Saudi organization and consultants in Saudi Arabia, they recommend and prefer to use P3M3 maturity model. The issue with this model is that it's not designed to assess PMOs. It's mainly designed to assess program, projects, and portfolios, processes, and capabilities. In this slide, we are seeing examples of Saudi organization who announced their P3M3 in the media. So as you can see, from out of 8, 2 got 5, level 5, and 5 organizations got level 4, and just 1 organization got level 3. As you can see in this slide, examples of their achievements in the media. This is the flow chart of the current situation in Saudi Arabia. So as I said, from the vision here at the top left, we have the Saudi vision. It requires, of course, high project intensity. A lot of projects and initiatives comes from it. So organizations need to build, establish PMOs to fulfill these projects and deliver these projects. Then we need to know to measure capability and assessment, do maturity assessment for the PMO. So to do that, we need to select a model. So there are some influences or factors that affect this selection. Maybe like a consultant is recommending a certain model, or there is, a pressure from government or institution pressure from government or regulation to select a certain model. So that's why organizations in Saudi Arabia maybe they adapt or listen to peer influence to select a certain model. So mainly in Saudi Arabia, they prefer to use, as I said, P3M3. But the issue with this model, as I said, it's a standard assessment practice, doesn't measure the impact of or value of the PMO. So that's why we have like potential misalignment with the PMO rule. So here is the research problem and gaps. Problems, maturity models focus on process capability rather than value and impact. Organizations tend to use non-fit for purpose models to assess PMOs. Strong emphasis on improving maturity scores rather than showing or demonstrating a strategic outcome. Some organizations prefer to use these models to get easy score, just for image building and for show, and also to compete in global competition. PMO struggle to demonstrate value, contributing to restructuring or closure. Many PMOs in Saudi Arabia fail, to deliver value, which result, in closure after the first 3 years of their operation. So the gaps that I'm trying to address here in this research: limited attention to alignment between maturity models and PMO roles. We don't know the drivers for selecting these models by the Saudi organization. A lack of framework linking maturity assessment to PMO value creation. And lastly, scarce empirical and conceptual research in Saudi organization context. So the research question is how do maturity model selection and application influence the alignment between PMO assessment and actual PMO value in Saudi organization? The theory that I would like to focus on in my thesis, here I categorize, the theories by 2 types. One is conscious and the other one is unconscious. So when we say conscious, let's say the social proof theory, definition is that people adapt behaviors or choose because others are doing so. So for example, people are selecting P3M3 because, they are following other peers, because it has a good reputation. So when I select this model, I have conscious, I'm aware of my selection. The other type of theory is Jung's shadow dynamics. The shadow is an unconscious aspect of personalities that are denied or repressed. So, for example, maybe a weak PMO, they wear like the mask. The persona is, in front of the world, they say we are expert PMOs, but in reality, they hide behind the shadow. They don't see their weaknesses, so they are unconscious and unaware. So to elaborate more, let's see this flow chart. At the left-hand side, there is drivers for selecting certain models. As I said, peer organizational adoption, model reputation, consulting recommendation, maybe government is pressuring me and forcing me to use a certain model, and also desire for recognition and image. So I select a certain model based on these factors or drivers. Then, I select the model. As I said, we have different kinds of model. Then after that, we do the assessment, maybe either a self-assessment by myself or a consultant, a third party is doing the assessment for me. But the issue with the assessment, sometimes, we face biased, behavioral biases like, cognitive biases, shadow dynamics, sometimes the organization do not accept low score. They force the consultant to give them high score. As a consultant, sometimes they listen to please the client. Okay. So the result of this assessment, you get inflated maturity scores, gap between reported and the real capability. underestimated capabilities. So you get potential misalignment. This is a clear example of the shadow dynamics. So, for example, let's say you have a weak PMO. So in his actual capability is they are weak, okay? But when they do the assessment, they give themselves high score, inflated score, because they don't see their weaknesses. They deny their weaknesses. So we have a gap between the actual and also the assessment, the red assessment. So this is a clear example of the shadow dynamics. The vice versa also for strong PMOs. In reality they are strong, but when they do the assessment, they are unsure. They get themselves low score, because they don't see themselves as strong. So the shadow hide their strengths. Future research could be defined research questions. To what extent do maturity model selection and assessment practices contribute to misalignment between reported PMO maturity and actual organization value inside the organization? Sub-questions could be what maturity models are commonly used in Saudi Arabia? What drives organization to select these models? Do these models align with the PMO rules and the functions? How do bias and the perception dynamics affect assessment outcome? For conclusion, from research, we know that high maturity doesn't equal high impact. PMO maturity is not only a score, it's a reflection of organizational value and impact. Effective PMO assessment requires alignment between maturity models and PMO roles, not just the process capability only. So we need to add also the impact factor as well. Model selection should be fit for purpose rather than driven by reputation or institutional trends. Organization and behavioral factors, including bias and young shadow dynamics, influence assessment outcome. So to conclude, we can say that improving maturity does not guarantee creating value. Alignment does. This is examples of some references that I used for my research, 4 out of 60. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A very interesting topic, and I shared in the chat the study report that you mentioned, where we detail also why we see increasingly the use of P3M3 for PMO assessment, which is not the right choice, as you rightly mentioned. You may also look into maybe institutional theory, because in institutional theory, it explains the behavior, why people do things like they do. And there's something it's called isomorphism.
Yes.
Isomorphism explains basically why we all people follow the same track, like like a herd of animals in one direction, and that can be explained by regulative institutions, because your government or ministries or authorities say, okay, you have to use P3M3.
Yes.
So P3M3 is promoted as the best practice standard for doing PMO assessments, like in your region or your country, it is like that. And the third one is what I like very much with your proposal, to go more into the cultural cognitive area, because then it looks into the people. So why do they choose conscious and unconscious, these kind of models? So you're more tending towards psychological approaches, which is fine, but you may also stay more on the, let's say, institutional level. That's a choice you have to make, because literature will be very different, etc. So I'm not sure what would be the best direction to go, but there are options for that.
Correct. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, Amr. Greetings and stay safe in your place.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I now like to ask Jasna. So we pull that presentation now into the open slot. So Jasna Glavojevic-Gatin from Croatia, also PhD student from Alma Mater Europaea University. She will talk about the soft factors and value creation high-performing technical organizations like she's employed with, exposed to projectification. Jasna, if you share your slides in presentation mode, then you have 15 minutes.
Can you see my screen?
I see it, not in presentation mode yet. Maybe just switch it. A bit to the right. Yes. Yep. Now, perfect.
Okay.
All yours.
Okay. So my name is Jasna Glavočević-Gatin, and together with Professor Mladen Radujković, in this research we explore the role of soft factors and value creation within technical organizations. Engineering-driven organizations typically operate through project-based models of organizing work, and they traditionally build on strong technical expertise and professional practices. In today's environment of uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, professionals face increasing strategic expectation related to organizational value creation. So in this study, projectification is used as an analytical lens to explore how professionals interpret their work and organizational expectations. For the beginning, engineering-driven organizations combine strong engineering departments with temporary project structures, which create the need for coordination across multiple organizational levels. Projects often represent the core mechanism of value delivery, and while internal units run development and innovation initiatives. In such settings, projects become the principal mechanism for strategy implementation and work coordination. This gradual expansion of project-based work is widely discussed in the literature under the concept of projectification. Projectification in the literature refers to the growing reliance on projects as a dominant form of organizing work across organizations and society. Research identifies several levels of projectifications, including society, organizations, works, and individuals. In engineering-driven environment, this increasingly shapes how work is coordinated and how professional roles evolve. In this study, we used projectification as an analytical lens to explore how professionals experience these environments and how this contributes to organizational level creation, value creation. Contemporary research emphasizes that project success should not be assessed only through the traditional iron triangle as of time, cost, and scope, but also through its contribution to broader organizational value. This includes technical performance, stakeholder satisfaction, and wider organizational benefits in order to enhance value creation. More recent work also highlights the importance of benefits management to enhance value creation. In engineering-driven environments, value creation does not depend only on technical capabilities, but also on how professionals collaborate, communicate, and coordinate their work within complex project settings. Building on this conceptual framework and focusing on professionals in engineering-driven organizations who played central role in organizational value creation, this leads us to the research question: how do professionals in engineering-driven organizations interpret strategic expectation within projectified work environments, and how do soft organizational factors shape their professional practices in contributing to organizational value creation? This study explores how professionals in engineering-driven organizations interpret strategic expectations within projectified work environments. More specifically, it examines how they adapt their practices under project pressure and how soft organizational factors shape their contribution to organizational value creation. The broader aim of this is to better understand how human dynamics in value creation and in project-intensive technical organization. Methodologically, this study adopts a qualitative exploratory study approach based on 8 semi-structured interviews with professionals working in EPC organizations. The participants represent different roles across the project lifecycle, including project managers, technical support managers, leader engineers, and head of sales tendering department. The interviews were conducted early this year in Zagreb, Croatia, and they were analyzed using thematic analysis. Conceptually, the interview protocol was informed by projectifications as a lens and a dynamic capabilities perspective, focusing on how professionals experience projectified environments and adapt their practices under pressure. This study should be understood as a pilot study with limitations related to the small number of participants and the focus on single organization. The analysis focused on how professionals interpret the strategic expectations, experience projectification pressures and resource constraints, and adapt their practices in response. Particular attention was given to soft organizational factors and how professionals perceive their contribution to value creation. Professionals in the study reported to be exposed to growing strategic expectation to create more value. But when these expectations are translated into project environments, we observe a growing number of projects, increasing of complexity and higher coordination demands. At the same time, they report that there is a strategic operations gap, and it's not always clearly communicated that these goals are in line. Also, they reported the inconsistencies across organizational unit. In parallel, the global EPC environment brings more complex technical but also administrative requirements, while the availability of qualified professionals remain unlimited on the market. To develop various adaptive responses, importance of soft factors is highly emphasized, and also the critical role of leadership support. Through the lens of projectification and dynamic capabilities, these dynamics appear to as increasing pressure, complexity, and coordination demands within project environments. First, what we see when we interpret the findings, first, projectification clearly reshapes everyday work practices. Professionals are no longer focusing only on technical tasks, but increasingly take on coordination, communication roles across complex project environments, and this also affects their professional identity. So engineers are becoming what we might call projectified professionals, which combine technical expertise with organizational and interpersonal responsibilities. Importantly, what they experience is not just the project pressure, but a broader strategic expectation to create value. When translated into project environments, this often creates a gap between understanding strategy and being able to make this work in the operations. At the same time, increasing project demands are not matched with sufficient resources. As a result, professionals continuously adapt their work practices, but these adaptations are often reactive rather than strategically structured. So in this context, soft organizational factors become critical. Communication, leadership, and motivation are not just supportive elements, but the key condition that enable professionals to sustain performance and contribute to value creation. Finally, from a motivational perspective, professionals are more engaged when they understand the purpose of their work and feel supported within their teams. This in turn reinforces their ability to navigate complex project environments. It is evident that organizations, including engineering-driven ones, are under continuous pressure to create value. Projectification has become a dominant mode of implementation. However, both the literature findings and our findings, even within a small sample, suggest that implementation ultimately rests on the professionals. To sustain this, professionals develop adaptive capabilities that strengthen both individual and organizational resilience. So that concludes this presentation. I thank you for your attention, and I would be happy to take your questions, comments, and yeah.
Thank you, Jasna. Are there any questions from the audience? Let me ask you, Jasna. I think also in literature, it's well known that engineering organizations are very much projectified already. Now you're showing it even further with projectification. Will there be other work than projects in those organizations in future?
Well, I think this constant need, that's, as you said, engineering-driven companies have the projects as a base. That's in the heart of these organizations. But there's also one specific characteristics, and that's the projects are not only temporary. These people working on projects also function within technical departments, and they are assigned to projects which are then achieved as a mean of value delivery for the client. But in order to deliver value for the company they belong to, I think more and more projects are also being run internally. And yeah, I think
both worlds exist still.
Yes.
There's the non-project world, like the technical specialization and whatever they do in their engineering domain, and there will be an increasing part of projects, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of a paradox of projectification within the the company where projects are the base. So we are additionally projectifying this type of companies.
I would not call it a paradox, but it's a transition or transformation. And my question is ultimately, where is this going to? And then maybe you also like to comment.
I would like to share something from my point, because I'm also, let's say, expert working long term or almost all my career in such environment. It's true, yes. It's the most productificate among sectors, but the problem is that each project is just one island, and then people are going from one island to another island and don't thinking about the previous one. So that shift or of transfer, or say it's something about let's say for the first integration of whatever they have. And then there is a question, what can we get out of that? Because I'm doing consultancy. Last month I say, I'm thinking, they were asking me what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, do I speak it now for fourth, fifth, or sixth time the same thing, same people? I mean, company, if you understand me, but different project. So this is the shift I think that productification is bringing. It's a change of mindset, and then after that, I mean, in the soft part, but then we have to change in that kind of companies how they do projects from the beginning to start and from the top to the bottom. So that's my experience and thinking.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. I just share here for you all, especially for you, Jasna. I was reading a lot of, and it's a good friend of mine, Jörg Südow, and he published a lot of papers about this, what you call the paradox, but it's not a paradox. It's basically interaction that's going on in engineering organizations. And he looked more into, let's say, film industry, movie industry, the temporary organizing and the permanent context, how they interact. Because he's saying that if you do projects, like Mladen said, it's islands, but you have around that island a permanent, an embedding context, which is permanent, which is stability. And the more you do projects, the more projects become permanent. So it's changing, let's say, the character, the way of working, the culture, the mindsets of the people. And this is why maybe you have a look into this kind of literature. Because there's a lot of mention. If you do more and more projects or projectification that is doing something with the organization, it changes the character of the organization. And this is why it's quite an interesting debate. Maybe
Yes,
just look into these keywords, temporary, temporariness, they call it, and permanent organization.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, and maybe next week we can also speak more about that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, Nancy.
I will ask her later. No worries. I'll ask her
Yeah, next week. You can ask her next week. Okay, sorry. Now we have the next speaker. It's David György from University of Pécs, Faculty of Business and Economics, a PhD candidate. And I'd like you please to share your slides. His presentation will be about work motivation and perceived tool specificity, a comparative study of technical and non-technical employees. Welcome, David. The floor is yours. Please share your slides.
Can you see my screen?
No, not yet, but maybe there's a short delay. I see you now.
Okay, share.
You should be able to share.
One moment. Now I got the way.
No worries, no hurry.
Okay, now it should work.
Now it works. Okay. Please go ahead.
Super. So basically, my topic is work motivation and perceived tool specificity. It's a comparative study of technical and non-technical employees. Basically, technical covers here STEM fields and also blue-collar technical fields, so blue-collar workers as well. I'm David George, PhD fellow at University of Pécs and the doctor in the doctoral school. Okay, the agenda here, basically starting with the research objectives. Then I'd like to tell you a few things what I think this research is more significant in the recent times. A theoretical review or background behind the elements, a research methodology and the findings, and of course the conclusions. Objectives. Basically, we heard a lot about motivation today, and basically it can be attached or it can be connected to performance or maybe even efficiency. It can be influenced by several factors, personal or external factors even, or workplace factors, or workplace characteristics, such as job characteristics, working conditions, and an employer cannot influence every factor of these characteristics, but there are several factors which has an impact on. An employee work environment also helps boost their motivation, several authors says. So the research questions came into the picture that how the job-specific nature of these work tools can influence the work motivation, and how does the impact of job-specific work tools manifest itself in technical and non-technical fields, to, let's say, compare them. I think the research itself is important because the fertility rate in Europe is decreasing. What you can see on this chart, on this graph, and the replacement rate should be 2.1, which would be needed for a country to remain stable without immigration. So that means the labor force is shrinking. Basically, in more developed regions, the shrinking is more apparent, and this trend may continue. But we still need workers to do their things because our needs are not decreasing. So this can be balanced by technologically with AI and robot applications, automation, and increasing efficiency, maybe through motivation, but also can be balanced out with migration. Behind the theoretical framework, I would start with Maslow. I know that this is not completely up to date, but connected to our basic behaviors. So basically, most people are motivated primarily by their own interests, and once their needs are met, the necessary needs are met, the people strive to reach the next level in the hierarchy. Then the two-factor theory of motivation came into the picture from Herzberg, who said that there's a link between productivity and satisfaction. And the satisfaction or dissatisfaction is determined by hygiene or external or internal as motivator factors, such as working condition was identified as hygiene factors, but we can speak motivator factors such as development, recognition, progress, responsibility, effectiveness, but more and more study come to the point where hygiene factors are also mentioned as motivator factors, such as working condition, as I want to highlight here the work-specific tools. The self-determination theory connected to Herzberg's theory, who said that we can only speak of motivation when it doesn't require constant external reinforcement, but rather when a person acts of their own volition, driven by a kind of internal generator, which is aligned with the self-determination theory. So the motivation only will work as on a level that we can improve our performance if we can increase the intrinsic motivation. And to connect it to this, the theoretical foundation of this research based on the task technology fit model, which is saying that the performance enhancing effect of technology doesn't stem solely from its technical quality, but rather than the extent to which the tool supports the specific requirements of a given task, which can lead us to an increased perceived competence, which is an important element of the self-determination theory. The relatedness, competence, and autonomy. So if we work with tools, what we can successfully use, we can have more competence feeling in the work life. So my hypothesis and the methodology, basically hypothesis among employees in technical roles, the use of job-specific tools and task complexity are significantly and positively correlated with work motivation. The second hypothesis is about the same, but in the picture, there's the non-technical roles. There was a primary research with 250 sample. Quantitative cross-sectional study was delivered. Employees working in technical fields was 128 answers, and from non-technical fields, there was 122 answer. It was an online questionnaire survey, so basically it has its own limitation, but altogether the analysis of the associations were with correlation analysis, cross-tabulation analysis, and descriptive statistics. As we checked the non-technical fields, the diversity of the answers was not heterogeneous. So basically, we couldn't say anything that the job-specific tool use increase motivation, and I have to highlight that this is perceived motivation, which is also can be a limitation. But in the technical fields, there was a more of a trend, or more job-specific tool use could be attached to higher motivation, as it was checked by Pearson tree square and Kramer's V. So we can say that in this study, in this sample, H1, the H1 hypothesis can be accepted because we have a correlation strength of medium, and it's a positive correlation. But in the other case, in the non-technical roles, there was no correlation between motivation, perceived motivation, and the task complexity and job specificity. So the conclusions from this, that although both groups use specific tools at similar rates, both perceived as they use specific tools, approximately 60%, their psychological impact serves as a positive motivator only for the technical groups. In these technical roles, the right tools and softwares can be a direct source of efficiency and professional excellence. So benefit could be achieved making a differentiated motivation strategy, because one size not fits all. So different points of intervention could be required in technical and in administrative or in supportive areas. So basically in the technical fields, workplace infrastructure, work equipment, workplace design and safety is more relevant, or it has a greater impact on the motivation. And in the non-technical fields, the workplace hygiene, also the design, but mostly the social factors were given a greater impact. So according to these, I can highlight the areas of development based on the technical fields. The investment should focus on the state-of-the-art or in the modern job-specific tools that has a direct impact on retention. But on non-technical areas, upgrading the equipment alone doesn't increase the motivation that much. Maybe soft factors, organizational culture, career path, and management support and management behaviors should be more prioritized. As I mentioned, this research also has limitations because this motivation based on perceptions. So this motivation can be subjective as the answers, as they based on online answers. The sample under examination isn't representative because it contains only employees from a single company, but I wasn't able to check all the company and limitations related to the sample size as well.
Okay.
Thank you for your kind attention. And if you have any question, I am happy to answer.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions? If not, again, thank you very much for presenting, and for all of the speakers. The papers will be published, I think, later this year, officially, as a formal paper in the proceedings. And now I would like to ask Valdrina Selimi, also coming from University of Pécs, to share the screen, because she will talk about the virtual FDI, how online freelancing is reshaping the global service investment. Valdrina, are you available?
Hello, everyone.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Actually, thank you, Mr. Wagner. I am Valdrina's colleague, Sihana Hoja. We had a technical problem, and I was signed in with her account, and the name is Valdrina Selimi, but actually I am her colleague, and I am going to present this paper.
Okay.
So, hello, everyone again. I will share now my screen. Could you please confirm if you can see?
Not yet, but I think now I see, not in presentation mode yet, but
not in presentation mode yet. Okay.
Now it's perfect.
Is it okay now?
It's okay now, please. 15 minutes.
Thank you very much. 15 minutes. I will try to be
okay, all good.
Around 10 minutes. I have planned around 10 minutes. So thank you very much once again, and hello to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. So my name is Sihana Hoja Shala. I am a PhD candidate at the Southeast European University, and together with my colleague Valdrina Selimi, which is also a PhD candidate in Pécs University, we are going to present our paper, which is entitled Virtual FDI, How Online Freelancing is Reshaping Global Service Investment. So this study mostly explores how digital platforms are transforming the way cross-border services and investments take place. Traditionally, FDI has been associated with a physical movement of capital across countries. This usually involves establishing subsidiaries or opening branches or investing in infrastructure abroad. However, with the rapid development of digital technologies, this traditional understanding is being challenged. Today, platforms such as Upwork or Fiverr or Freelancer allow individuals to provide service globally without relocating or investing physically. This indicates that global service provision is becoming increasingly digital and also dematerialized. As a research problem, this transformation creates an important theoretical challenge. Most existing FDI theories are built on the assumption that investment requires physical presence and also capital transfer. However, online freelancing does not follow these rules. There is no need for subsidiaries, no need for capital relocation, and often no formal business structure, as in traditional FDI. Therefore, we identify a clear gap in the literature regarding how to conceptualize these new forms of cross-border activity. The main objective of this paper is to introduce the concept of virtual FDI as a new analytical framework, and we aim to explain this phenomenon using established theories such as Dunning's OLI paradigm and transaction cost theory. In addition, we analyze how this transformation is reshaping global service investment patterns, especially in the digital economy. What is actually virtual FDI? We define virtual FDI as the cross-border provision of services through digital platforms, where the main inputs are skills, knowledge, and reputation rather than physical capital. This form of activity is systematic, sustained, and strategically oriented, which makes it comparable to traditional investment behavior. Saying it in simple terms, virtual FDI can be described as an investment without physical capital movement. So this is the most important part. As for the theoretical framework, we try to be very short on our PowerPoint slides, but to elaborate it or to better understand this concept, we have adapted the OLI paradigm in our paper to a digital context. First, ownership advantages are no longer firm-level assets, but individual-level capabilities such as technical skills or expertise and online reputation. Second, location advantages are driven by global wage differences, allowing freelancers in lower income countries to access higher paying international markets. And third, internalization is achieved through digital platforms, which provide trust mechanisms, payment systems, and also coordination tools. We identify three main phases in the development of virtual FDI. The first phase, from period 2005 to 2012, represents the emergence of online platforms and initial experimentation. The second phase, from 2013 to 2019, is characterized by growth, consolidation, and professionalization of freelancers. And the third phase, from 2020 onwards, which was significantly accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which normalized remote work globally. As for the key mechanisms, our analysis identifies three key mechanisms through which virtual FDI reshapes global service investment. First, there's a shift from traditional FDI or Mode 3 toward digital cross-border service delivery or Mode 1. Second, there is a reconfiguration of comparative advantages, particularly in knowledge-intensive services. Third, there is increasing participation of developing countries in global service markets through digital platforms. As for the implications of this transformation are significant. From an economic perspective, it affects how we measure trade and investment flows. From a development perspective, it creates new opportunities for individuals in the global south to participate in international markets. From a policy perspective, it highlights the need for updated regulatory, of course, including here also institutional frameworks. This transformation, however, also creates several challenges, of course. Measuring digital service flows remains very difficult due to limitations in current statistical system, firstly. Secondly, taxation systems are not fully adapted to platform-based income, which is also a big challenge. And third, there are significant regulatory gaps, especially in cross-border contexts. In conclusion, virtual FDI represents a new and important form of global investment. It challenges traditional theories and requires a rethinking of how we understand international business and service trade. Future research and policy development should focus more on better measurement, improved regulation, and support for digital participation. Thank you very much for your attention. I would also be happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions in the audience or from the audience? Do you see a push from the pandemic into these kind of electronic support platforms, and is there an increase since the pandemic, and what do you see in the future? What is the future development?
Actually, yes, absolutely. The COVID-19 pandemic played a major role in accelerating the adoption of these digital platforms. And we know that during the pandemic, the mobility, the physical mobility was restricted, and traditional modes of service delivery, especially those that required face-to-face interaction, became very difficult, or mostly, let's say, even impossible. So as a result of this, both firms and individuals were forced to shift toward online and toward online platforms to continue their activities. So this created what we can call a forced digital experiment, let's say, where many organizations realized that remote and platform-based service delivery was not only possible, but also cost-effective and also efficient. So even after the pandemic, these practices have continued.
They stay, yeah. But what will be the future? Because we also see that in our PhD program. We have people from all around the world, and it's very practical, but we also see a need for physical meetings from time to time, at least.
Yeah, that's absolutely inevitable. But in my opinion, I mean, and based on the literature and the review that we've done, the future is likely to involve continued expansion rather than the replacement of the traditional models, in our opinion. So, of course, we expect digital platforms to play an increasingly important role in global service delivery. But at the same time, a virtual FDI will likely coexist with traditional FDI. As you mentioned, we rather than fully replace it, because this includes also other factors. I think it includes regulation, taxation, data measurement. But the trend will be the growing participation of developing countries as digital infrastructure and skills continue to improve.
And if I would now ask if AI is taking over most of the tasks anyway, do we need to engage even in the same number of hours physically or virtually, we as humans, or is AI replacing the need of this interaction that we do now virtually?
If I understood the question right,
my question is basically,
yes, AI is actually pushing the workforce to become more skilled and more adaptive. So
but is AI replacing the need for these kind of meetings or interactions or communication? What we are now doing virtually, but will it go away through AI?
in our opinion, we don't think that it will replace, because it is of course it is automating many tasks or routine tasks or repetitive tasks, especially in the data processing. But I think that AI has a very main role, not in replacing, but just pushing that kind of workforce, as I mentioned, to become more adaptive to what's really happening these times.
I posted in the chat a blog post that I posted a few weeks ago about competences, and what I'm saying in the era of AI, we need to build trust between people, and this is why this interaction is changing in a different direction. We are not just talking about data analytics and status reports and things like that, but we need to build trust between people to believe what the AI is doing for us. And this is why there's still a need of interaction, communication, and so on. So it will change. The content and also the need for communication will change.
Yes, absolutely. Trust is a fundamental element in this type of digital interaction. So I absolutely agree.
Good. I thank you very much, you and your colleague. And now ask Neza Đurđević or Mateja Vatnejal. Sorry, I'm not good in pronouncing your names. Are you here? Can you start your presentation? Because that's the last presentation we have today. But maybe it's also shown wrongly in the program, because they are talking about motherhood as a factor in women's entrepreneurship in Slovenia. And maybe that was placed wrongly in our program. I again ask Mrs. Đurđević or Professor Vatnejal whether they are here. If not, then I would say we are at the end of our stream here. Was very interesting, very diverse, very engaging. So I'm very happy that we see so much research going on in the field of project management, not only at Alma Mater, but also from other universities. So I would encourage you to continue with that. And again, as I said, the papers will be available during this year through Alma Mater in the proceedings. So we are waiting on that. They need to be finished. And I say thank you, happy projects, and see you next time. And you see here the survey, so maybe just mark your satisfaction with this session, and then we end it. Thank you and have a good week.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Reinhard.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.